Our upcoming session is going to be a panel discussion on the topic, Scaling Your Personalized Content Strategy to Drive Customer Loyalty and Spend. Let me walk you through the topic a bit. You know that today's typical customer has a 5-second attention span. They will move on to something else if your material only captures their attention inside that time range. Fortunately, customized content can help clients stay interested in your business over time. Our panelists, R Speer, owner of Creed Consulting, and Carrie Price, marketing executive at Design by Price, will share how to locate and engage your audience, develop pertinent data segments, carry out campaigns, and use other best practices to increase brand recall. And to keep the moderation of the session at its best, we have Julie Zhu, founder and Chief Marketing Strategist at Julie Zhu LLC. Let's hear it for our panelists and moderator.
Can I get your attention, please? We are going to get started. So let me see a show of hands. How many of you here are working for big agencies? None of you. And how many of you are entrepreneurs? Yay!
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm the moderator and participant, Julie Zhu. And why don't we introduce ourselves a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, my name is R Speer. I'm the owner of Creed Consulting as well as the Business Leaders Network, where I help small business owners with the growth and development of their businesses by implementing the proper steps, which is structure, technology, efficiencies, processes that helps lead them to scalability. I had some pretty pivotal points in my life, and I want to give a little background that helped lead me to where I'm at. That's going to help control the conversation of where we're going to be going today. But on February 7, 2007, I was in Barwana, Iraq, and I was blown up by a suicide bomber at a walking checkpoint. And during that time, it was a very crucial point of my life that really woke me up, but it also taught me a lot of systems and processes that led me to that day. And it was about being prepared for that ambush. Now, every single person, especially entrepreneurs, we are going to be ambushed sometime in our life. Your ambush may not be getting blown up by a suicide bomber or having rounds being thrown down the range, but your ambush could be a key client quitting, a key employee quitting. It could be a family member getting sick and having to be in the hospital. It could be COVID and the pandemic. How many of you guys were affected by the pandemic? A lot of people were. So the things that I like to teach my clients is how to make sure that they're being prepared for that ambush. So when I look back on that suicide bomber, it was like the biggest bloodbath you could ever imagine, but everyone knew how to respond from that day and reacted to the things that they needed to do. And it all happened from day one when we put our feet on those yellow footprints in boot camp and being prepared and doing the training that it takes to lead us to where we're going to go. So everyone from the corpsman that got to the injured people, everyone from the communications that got the evacuation of the people to be able to get the sick out, and to even the other Marines that went out to patrol the other city to make sure that no other people were going to be having danger come in. It's about being prepared. It's about having awareness and making sure that all of you guys know what to do when the shit hits the fan. So we want to make sure that you guys are prepared. I plan on talking a little bit about some of those steps that can help you guys be prepared, gain the awareness of your audience so that way you can gain their attention, keep them engaged, and then turn them to create greater opportunities.
How do I follow that? I've been on the other side of that proverbial fan, right? We've all had the shit coming at us, and I have worked in both B2B, B2C agencies, and also on internal teams. And I can tell you, being on that internal team is feeling like being on the other side of that fan, and you're just kind of bracing for impact. So I wish I had a JR when I was, early off in my career. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here today to talk to you guys. My name is Carrie Price. I own Design by Price. It's a consulting agency for small teams and people who just need that marketer with a little bit of industry knowledge, but a lot of bit of heart and a lot of bit of caring for those clients and creating those personas. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys today about how we can leverage content creation, content generation, and make it work.
Love it.
Love that. I'm also so honored to be here. I'm Julie Zhu. I live in New York City. I started my marketing consultancy last year. Most of my clients are women entrepreneurs who are creatives, authors, coaches, and consultants. I'm saying hi to my friend, Peggy, one of our sponsors today. I know that our panel topic is scaling your personalized content strategy to drive customer loyalty and spend. That's a mouthful. It took me a week to memorize that title. But now I encourage you to ask your most urgent content questions. so that way we can best focus our time today. Anyone who wants to share your question?
So who struggles with social media content or any content period that's going to help you guys engage with your audience that converts them to sales? I'm sure a lot of people do. So if you guys can, get up and watch you guys come up here and just ask us questions, because we want to be able to engage with you guys a lot more and give you guys topics and discussions that's tailored to you and your business. And we would love to be able to have anyone and everyone come up and ask those questions.
Yay.
Hello. I have a question. So we do batch planning for our clients normally in like 3 months spurts, so that way we're not too far ahead so the content isn't outdated. What recommendations do you have for those clients that may, based off of their brand positioning or anything like that, they cannot fit into those batch planning models? Like they just don't work based off of what they do. What recommendations do you have for that?
I would love to jump in here.
Yeah, I'll follow up.
I've worked in the pharmaceutical industry for a little while now, and I can tell you sometimes it takes a year to get an email approved. I'm not kidding. It is a process, and that's because of regulations. We're responsible for giving important safety information to physicians so that they have what they need to be able to prescribe a drug to a patient. So being able to accurately and in a timely fashion get that information to them is sometimes challenging. And it's not necessarily one size fits all.
Yeah, I think the mic went off.
It's not necessarily one size fits all. So we're working with sometimes drugs that are controlled substances that require extra regulations. We're working with difficult formularies and difficult things to get to market, right? So what I've had to learn as a marketer is to not pressure myself into getting into a prescriptive type of time frame, right? 3 months doesn't always work. 6 months doesn't always work. A year seems ridiculous, but sometimes it works. But really figuring out what works for your industry and what works for your clients, and being able to move within those boundaries to make sure that you're getting them in, the best content at the best time, even though it may seem that it takes too long or too short.
Yeah, so I agree with what you say, and I have a completely different strategy that I teach all of my clients. But one thing you need to understand, that without a plan, you're going to fail. And there's 4 key things that I tell all my clients when it comes to social media content or content period. It could be on YouTube, it can be on email marketing, but it must be purposeful, shareable, likable, and planned. Purposeful, shareable, likable, and planned. Most people, they go out there and they produce content just to be able to produce content, but they don't actually have a strategy or a plan behind it. The other thing too, when it comes to batch content and to be able to get your clients to do it the best, is people struggle to figure out, what should I be saying? What should I be doing to be able to get them to engage and to create those opportunities? And I tell people, it's like, well, first off, you need to stop producing content just to produce content. You need to have a purpose behind it, and the best way to do it is something that I teach everyone called your Big 7. So if you guys are taking notes and you want to have some tactical strategies, this is the time to take notes on what I'm going to teach you. But really identifying what is your Big 7. And the Big 7 is the 7 biggest problems that your perfect clients have. Now, if you would go to any of my social media pages, look up R Speer, I'm everywhere, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, but Facebook is my home, you'll see that I post very little about my personal life. You get a lot of marketers, and probably you guys as well, and I like to argue the fact that we need to have so much personal information, so much business information, so much whatever. I disagree 100% with that, because I look at social media as business media. I am one of those people that hated social media in the beginning, and then I had a coach that had to shift my mindset and saying, well, stop looking at it as social media, think about it as business media. How would you show up to those important one-on-one calls, to those meetings, to the conferences? When he told me that, a light bulb went off, and I show up completely different to those calls and the way I show up online. But the reason why I say that is because so many people are so focused on trying to have a balance of personal and business and things like that. But the real thing that they need to understand is the people that are following you, the people that are friends with you guys, that is your audience. And on Facebook, you have the opportunity to grow 5,000 friends, which I call 5,000 seats. You are the star on your stage, on your social platforms, and your job is to fill every single seat with your perfect client. Your perfect client is the people that you want to draw in and that you want to speak to. And if you're filling those seats with your perfect client, you need to speak to the heart of the problems that they have. So for example, if you guys have 5,000 people out in your audience and filling those seats, and you're trying to figure out batch content, what to be able to say and what to be able to do, and you're speaking to the big 7, which is the 7 biggest problems that your perfect clients have. And the reason why I call it big 7 is because I used to teach them about a 7x7 grid, creating the content, batching it, it will get like 49 pieces of content. So I changed it to big 7 because there's 7 days of the week, and to be able to build and grow a business, you gotta be committed to the process, but you gotta be willing to sacrifice certain things to be able to build growth in a business and to engage with your audience. So figure out what are the biggest problems that your perfect clients have. So for me, when I'm working with my clients, it's programs. How do you create the program? How do they create the offers? How to create the deliverables? How to find leads, so lead management. How to close more sales. How to get more, manage their time. All these different things. So all my pieces of content, if I was working with my clients and trying to figure out a batching process, I'm first going to identify what are the problems you're doing, and I'm going to create 3 months, 6 months of content based off the 7 problems.
I hear what you're saying, JR and Carrie, and I absolutely agree with you that every piece of content has to have a purpose. And to answer your question, I have a little point to make, is that many customers nowadays expect even more personalized and highly personalized one-on-one experience. So I would definitely, like JR mentioned, you want to take their feedback, understand their unique needs, so you can tailor your message and your content to their needs. And that's way you make sure that your messaging, your content, even your product description are really resonating with your customers. So that way you can make sure that you are delivering a very personalized and customized experience. Yes, please.
You kind of answered my question already, except one piece. Where would you get I struggle a lot with doing the research for the content to produce for the clients. It's like, where would you suggest where should we do research?
There you go.
Go for it.
Okay. So where I find the content and the research to be able to do it is, first off, look at the people that are closest to me, and I start reflecting on what do they ask me for help with. So in the beginning, if you are a startup business, this is the challenge to be able to figure out what are the problems that they have. But then we all want to attract people that we enjoy spending time with the most. So I start reflecting on myself. So if I was starting out another business, I would look at the things that I enjoy, the things that I like, the problems that I want help with. And then I start speaking to those different types of people. Now, when it comes to creating your offers, there's 4 different things that I take all my clients through. The one is you gotta know who your target audience, very basic. You gotta know your competitive advantage. And so this is gonna help you out tremendously. When you are figuring out the type of clients that you wanna work with, you gotta know the competitive advantage, meaning you gotta know what your clients or your competition is out there doing. A great way to really figure out the content to be able to produce is when you identify your first 3 to 5 biggest competitors. Now, if you're saying I have no competition because I'm very unique, we all have competition. We're all not that unique. We have people out there that are doing it or that are doing what we do, but you need to figure out who is your biggest competition. And this is I'm gonna give you the biggest tip on how you can generate leads. Generating leads is the easiest thing, especially high quality leads that'll convert. Figure out who your biggest competition is. Let's just say 3. Follow them on social media, all the different platforms and their newsletters. Now, when you are watching their content, go to it on a daily basis. There's this thing that you have like this heart or this like button or you have these comments. You can go there and let's just say your biggest competition has 100 likes on there. Guess what? Those 100 people are saying, I am interested or I like what he's saying. Now you can start establishing a relationship with those people on there. I look at my competitors' content, what people are responding to, and I engage with those people that are engaging with them, and that's how I fill my pipeline, get them into my community, overserve them, and over-deliver them to them so that way they trust me, and now I can start talking about what I have to offer.
I love that. It's a fantastic beginning, and that's exactly where we try to start in pharmaceuticals as well. We see what our competitors are doing, right? I mean, clearly, if they're there and they're competitive and if they have revenue that competes with ours, then they have to be doing something right? Then, past that, the biggest game changer that we've experienced in the past couple of years is metadata. Collecting data behind the scenes while you're doing these campaigns, while you're executing email campaigns or banner ads or whatever the thing may be, right? Get that metadata and use it. take it in and use it as part of your analytics, right? So when we're sending an email, we're not just sending an email to get information to an HCP. Selfishly, we're also trying to get information for ourselves. So we're collecting things like, what was the message type? Where was the CTA in the email? What time did we send it? What day did we send it? Day parting data, stuff like that, right? So as we see that data come in, and we're taking a look at open rates and click rates and all of those other KPIs, we're seeing what performs best, when, and by what group of HCPs. So from there, you're gonna be able to better tailor your content strategy to get to your target audience best.
Yeah, love that tip. I would also, when you look at your competitors' social media content, for example, I would also look at their comment section to see if people are rather like their content, or if they have any other questions that you could step in and answer the questions in your next piece of social media post, for example. And another game changer for clients is to look at the industry leaders, the thought leaders in your industry, the best-selling authors in your industry. What topics are they talking about? What is the best keynote talk they are sharing, for example? And then I think it's a great way to get inspired. Yeah. So any other questions from the audience?
Yes, hello. So I have opinion on that topic, but I'm very interested in yours. So this is really a number of pieces of content you should create to generate sales, basically, and relationships. So there is some secret sauce that some people use, that you should post 10 times a week, twice a day, at least 5 days a week. And my question is that a secret sauce for everyone or not?
I have a secret sauce, and it's something that I've used to help me, build multiple different businesses, and it's a very, very simple formula. First off, I want to reverse engineer. Every single week, same time, same day, every single week, you guys need to go live on whatever platform it is. And the live is always going to be speaking on one of your specific one of your big 7 problems that you have. So let's just say Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern, I'm always go live speaking on something, okay? It's always going to be through a Zoom or somewhere that they have to register for. Because if you keep everyone on your social platforms, you don't own that content. You don't own that lead. Zuckerberg owns that lead, and they can get shut down anytime. So your goal is to get people off of any social platform, own that contact in that list. So for them to be able to show up, they have to be able to give you something of value. So if you want to be able to get something of value, you have to be able to give something of value, which is going to be the personal information. So if you want to reverse engineer, I always say every single week I'm going to go live at this specific time, specific day, whatever it may be, and I'm consistent with that. And I've been doing that for years, and I have been teaching all my clients to do so. It works perfectly because you're growing your email list, you're getting engagement from people that are interested in what you have to talk to, and now you're going to be able to convert them to higher sales. So you go live every single week on a specific thing. All of your content that you do, from emails, from blogs, your websites, from social media, whatever it may be, even meeting someone at the coffee shop for the first time that's interested in what you have to do, you lead them to a specific place, which is your community. You always want one place where you are growing a community of some sort. I don't care if you do Facebook or LinkedIn communities or whatever it may be. I will say Facebook is the best, whether you're anti-Facebook or not, because you don't have to teach people on how to use it. It's already a platform that majority of the population in the world knows how to use. So whatever you do, you push them to one place in your community. All of your content that you do, and there's no strategy saying I need to put 10 pieces of content per week. I would do maybe 2 or 3 pieces of content every single week, and it's always to lead them and invite them to my live call. Well, they can't get an invite to the call unless they're in my community. So I always send them to my community. When they get in my community, I have a welcome message. I send them an invite link to join our call. They get in my CRM. Once they're in my CRM, whether they come to my call or not, that's irrelevant. I have a follow-up process that gets to them. So usually I have maybe 2 pieces of content every single week that is always an invite to that call. So let's just say 7 ways to generate high-quality leads. Comment below yes if you would like more information. They comment below yes in the comments. I send them a DM, a link to my Facebook group, because it's always one place. From that Facebook group, when they're in there, I would send them a welcome message. That's a link to register for that weekly live training. And then I repeat that over and over and over again, and my pipeline consistently stays full.
Absolutely, 100%. Just to supplement what JR said, when you're working with social media, which is particularly tricky, you're not only working with one client, right? You're not working with just the target that you hope to acquire, but you're also working with the algorithms of the system that you're working with. So you're not just trying to get people, you're also trying to make sure you post at the right time in the right place on those systems to be able to appear at top of page, right? So while there isn't a secret sauce or a one-size-fits-all solution for this, there is definitely two things to consider, and that's one, what does your audience want to hear, and two, what does the platform need so that you can get that content to the audience so that they can hear it. That's all.
Okay. I would like to, Julie, can I add something
Yeah,
to it?
sure.
I like to add just one more thing to what she was saying because the algorithm, this one's not working either. Sorry,
Loud.
I'll just put that over. But to add to that, it's all about exactly what she's saying. You got to beat the algorithm, so you got to know what your audience wants, but you have to beat the algorithm. And one thing that really changed a lot for me is understanding that the currency is in the comments. I'll say it again, the currency is in the comments. So every time you get more comments to your post, it's going to keep boosting it to the top of the feeds, which is exactly what she was saying. So when you see someone comment on a post or whatever it may be, you need to make sure that you go and reply back to it with another comment. And I always love to reply back with another question because I want them to reply back to my question. So I tag them, I follow with another question, and that keeps that comment going over and over. I did a proof of concept with one of my clients about 2 years ago. And when we got on the call and he didn't really believe my process, I said, you know what? I'm going to go to my Facebook feed right now. I'm going to go to a post from a year ago prior to what we were doing. And I said, before we get off here, I'm going to get off our call with two to three people that are going to want to book a call with me. And it didn't fail. I went and found a post from a year ago. I engaged with comments that were in there from a year ago. Just went to my memories, found a post that people were engaging with. And I got more people to respond. And then I had book calls before I got the call with my client. So you want to make sure that you're beating the algorithm and just understand that the currency is in the comments. And the consistency is going to be really important. So you got to show up every single day, being consistent, producing content to making sure that you are staying above and on top of the algorithm.
Yeah, another tip for Instagram, for example, besides the comment, the like, and share, and there's also a save feature. So I usually encourage my clients to encourage their clients to save their posts. For example, I have a psychology and a lot of parenting expert clients, and they usually share very informative social media posts. And on the last slide of their Instagram post, they would have a slide of save this post for later, and she got over 100 saves for that single post. So I think that definitely would add some value to your clients. I hope that answers your questions.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So in regards to personalizing content, just taking this from a approach of thought leadership for founders, CEOs, or people who are in C-level positions within these organizations, what have been your experiences with LinkedIn in creating that community? I know you mentioned Facebook. I feel like the community on Facebook and LinkedIn is similar in terms of the engagement, but I've seen different type of ways that people talk about themselves, but in the light of the company, whether it is creating the content for themselves or creating a LinkedIn article or creating that community that's still hyper-focused within the greater mission of the problem that's being solved. What is your experiences with that, and how do you guys think that personalization of content can be structured for LinkedIn specifically?
Well, you always have to think about what the end result is. The whole goal is to get them off that social platform into your CRM so you can follow up with them afterwards. So that way they get into your email marketing or follow-up or someone calling. I don't care what industry that you're in. If you're a huge C-level company or if you're a one-man show, the process is still the same. You have to think about the end result, and it's always to lead them to something of high value to be able to get them off, to be able to register so that you can have a follow-up system for there. So when it comes to even on LinkedIn, on training and what you want to do, you got to identify what are the problems that they have, and you need to create resources. You need to create content, and you need to create lead magnets. You need to create something that you can get high value, which is going to be their email, and then have a follow-up system after that. But the process is still the same, regardless of where you want to host your community.
So I guess drilling down a little bit more, which one would be the best thing to highlight? Would it be the community? Would it be your personal brand and connection to the business? Or would it actually be
the business itself and what it solves?
I personally build everything for my personal brand of me. And I encourage all my clients to do the same itself, because no one really cares about connecting with a company. They want to connect with people. So from that standpoint, that's the reason why I was saying, like, when you are building on your personal pages, look at it as business media, and everything that you do is purposeful, shareable, likable, and planned. If it doesn't serve my audience with the problems that they need, well, then I'm not going to be posting it. So it has to be able to serve them at a high level. So from my personal page, I'm always going to be doing something that serves my audience at a high level. And not just that, that connects on a more personal level, because now I'm speaking to the heart of what they want help with the most. So if I was in anyone's shoes, I would build it from a personal platform, a personal page, and push them to a community that leads them to a high quality training that's consistent every week, gets into my CRM, and having a high level person in my company follow up on a consistent basis with them. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
All right, cool.
Thanks.
You want to follow up?
I think you nailed it.
All right.
Yeah, so do we have any other questions from the audience? Yes.
Hi, how are you? I own a digital marketing agency, and I want to know from your experience and your thinking, what you think about fast content, because we are seeing more often in our clients. We work in the strategy, we make a schedule, we have like the planification, but then we want to pop up the trending. They want something like very meaningful, or they are something for the day and very quickly because it's a trend of the day. And you know, like digital is like that, it's about trends. And I want to know your experience in one. What do you think about that?
I'll jump in here. I completely understand the dilemma, right, of having that evergreen content that you know you have in your back pocket, you can post any day, any time, and it's going to work for your consumer. But then also, right, you got to stay trendy, you got to stay relevant. The average attention span is 5 seconds. It's an uphill battle. It's difficult, right? So the way that I advise my clients is to have an evergreen strategy, right? This is your umbrella. You have to start somewhere. You have to have your brand strategy, of course. You have to have all the components that go with it. You have evergreen content within that, and having that evergreen content and that brand strategy will allow you to remain flexible when it does come time to be trendy, or to respond to something that's relevant or pertinent to your business. So really, I try to balance maybe 60 to 70% evergreen, just so I know I have it. And maybe that's a comfort zone personally, but I like to know that I can post any day, anytime, and I have something. But then also, it can wait. If something trendy comes along, or relevant, pertinent, I can just focus on that for now, knowing that I can lean into my overarching brand strategy, and that whatever I'm posting isn't going to seem like it's not part of who I am or what I do.
Every piece of content needs to be purposeful, shareable, likable, and planned. So when it comes to trends, this should be something we should be watching on a daily and regular basis. But even after finding trends, you still need to make sure you have a plan and strategy behind it. Don't post things because you feel like you got to post. Don't sit there and put a piece of content, go live, do whatever, because now you're going to confuse your audience, because you may not be very clear on your messaging. A confused mind is never going to buy. So if they're confused by your messaging because you're just trying to get something out there because you feel like you got to get something out there because you're seeing everyone else that has a trend thing that you got to have fast content, I'm not a fan of fast content. I'm a fan of strategy. I'm a fan of making sure that everything is very specific, that is intentional, and that we put it out there with a specific plan.
Absolutely. So I would say that I would post 70% of evergreen content, but from time to time, I also comment on recent cultural events or issues, or other like celebrity things going on, to make sure the angle is unique, is relevant, but the core content is still relevant to the audience. But you want to make it interesting, sometimes make it spicy for your audience. I hope that helps.
And if you're struggling with marrying back fast content to your brand, consider making yourself even a quick 3 to 5 point checklist that represents your brand, so that when you're creating that fast content, you can go back and say, hey, here's my piece. Does it meet these criteria? And does it misalign with any of them? And if it does, reconsider how it misaligns with your brand and who you are, because nothing's more disappointing. And we've all seen Pinterest fails, right? Nothing's more disappointing than getting something and being like, wow, that's not what I ordered. Or like, this is completely off brand. I don't want this.
Yeah.
So you don't want your consumers to have that confusion either. So just make sure that you have that list of who am I, who are we as a brand, so that you can go back to that and always reference it.
It's always, you always have to know which platform you're on as well, because every platform has a different strategy in the way you do it. So if you guys are on TikTok, TikTok is all about entertainment. So if your clients are on TikTok and you're trying to get people engaged, well, someone that just gets up there and just always just talking about business strategies and there's no entertainment to really get the audience, you're probably not going to get as much engagement from the people and more opportunities from your audience. Versus maybe you're going to look at LinkedIn or look at Facebook or for more content driven. I'm more on Facebook with everything that I do, and I repurpose that to all my other platforms. But you got to understand who your audience is and who you're trying to attract, and making sure that you're working with the algorithm on that social platform as well.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I'm just curious how you all, your strategy for your own marketing for your own company, because obviously video is king. I struggle because it takes a lot of time. Do you have a social media manager that you work with? And if you do, I've worked with social media managers and I feel like I'm still the best one to do it, but I don't do it for myself. So I'm just curious if you have any thoughts on that. Like someone touched earlier, like we don't market ourselves as marketing managers a lot of times, and I'm guilty of that. So I'm just curious how you get over that hump.
So no one should be producing your content because you're the expert and the voice behind everything that you say. And one of the best strategies, and it goes back to someone's asking about producing content or batching content, is we're all busy, especially entrepreneurs. You're wearing so many different hats. We're doing with social media content. We're working on selling, doing sales calls. We're working on actually delivering to our clients and just trying to keep up with everyday life of family and personal life. So one thing that's really changed it for me goes back to the strategy that I said of doing the weekly lives in the workshop. Well, you take that, and if you are recording it live in your Facebook group, nowhere else, just your Facebook group, and maybe record it as well for that, on your personal page so you have the digital file, hire someone that you can do in different countries and things like that as a video editor, and have them chop that up in many different pieces of content. Now you have different content that's going to help draw them in to get more people more engaged and curiosity for this. So if you're looking for video content, that's something that I like to do, and then I repurpose that everywhere. So I do it one time, I make that into probably 10 to 20 different pieces of content. And not just that, when I do that for the video content, here's the beauty of it. I take that same exact message and I turn that to a picture and written content. I turn that into email content. I turn that into entertainment on TikTok content, so that one video now can be repurposed to written content, picture and written content, video content on YouTube, wherever it may be, and I just did it one time. So if you're consistent doing your weekly lives every single week, same time, every single week, focusing on the big 7 for your problems on there, and then you record that content, have someone chop it up into multiple different pieces. Now you repurposed 1 hour training or 30-minute training into multiple different pieces of content, and it didn't require more energy from you. You're welcome.
And just to add something, if you have a podcast or if you have a YouTube channel, so you could just, like JR mentioned, you could just record the video for YouTube or record your podcast video, podcast episodes, and then you can always repurpose the content. So one of my clients, she really enjoys speaking than writing. So what she does is she would record a really super long video message, a voice message for her VA. So and then her VA would transcribe the voice message and then repurpose it into social media posts, email content, and other stuff to engage and add value to her clients.
That's a powerful strategy, especially if you guys don't have a podcast or a show of any kind. That is one of the fastest ways to gain credibility for who you are. Now, you may not get business directly, but that just also increases your algorithm on Google and everywhere else. But just like Julie was saying, using your voice, having a podcast or something like that, that's the same strategy that I was just telling you about, where I would encourage you guys to record like a video of your podcast on Zoom, and then scrape that content out to put it on your podcast. But it's the same thing. You take that content from your podcast, repurpose it to multiple pieces of information, and now you just have endless amount of information and social media postings. Any other questions?
Yeah,
You can ask 10 more.
please.
What's your take on tools that are coming out now, like Jasper AI, that's just producing ridiculous content like in 10 seconds? Do you think they'll be around? Do you think it's accurate?
I mean, I personally don't use it yet, but I'm very intrigued by it. And there's tools out there that you can check to see if it's copyright issues or anything like that. But it's changing the game for social content all around. Now, you have to make sure that you're always checking to make sure it's your voice and your message who you are. I just published my first book called The Success Guide to Building Your Coaching Empire. And my sister, who's also my assistant, phenomenal individual, and everyone's trying to recruit her. But she was reading my book yesterday when I gave it to her. And we're on the plane coming from DC, and we had a layover in St. Louis. While she's reading it on the plane ride, she was going through 6 chapters, and she was like, "This is like nothing new. This is everything that I learned from you every single day and what you do." And it was just refreshed and validated everything. But it was nothing new to her, and it was cool to hear her say that, because it shows that I'm consistent on my messaging, no matter what platform I stand on, no matter what social content, even when it comes to my book. And I say that because even if you're using AI type content for it, it's a cool way and an easy way for you to be able to produce content fast, just making sure that you always double check that it's in your voice.
Yeah, I could definitely echo that. I mean, AI is a fantastic tool, and it's not going anywhere. AI has been probably 5 years, 6 years now coming into the making, and it's really going to hit its stride the next couple of years. But it's not an end game. It's a tool, right? It's something that we can use to supplement our existing content strategy to make sure that we're hitting the quotas that we know that social media and other platforms have, to make sure that we stay relevant to the algorithm, but it also has to stay relevant to our clients. So yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a tool, but it's not an end-all be-all.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to replace your personal relationship with the people. People have to know it's you. They have to know your voice. They have to have that connection. If you're trying to replace everything that you do in your business and automate everything, you're ultimately going to lose that real connection and relationship with your clients. Now, there are certain things that I love. I build automation for my clients. So I love automation. I love things that simplifies your life. But one thing that's never going to replace is that time that they get with you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny how you mentioned the AI tool, because there's one of the very famous copywriter that I work with here in the US. She posted her experience using the AI tool the other day, and she wanted the AI to make the copy even funnier, but then the AI tool responded, I don't get it, I don't get it. So I guess no one understands your audience better than yourself. And I agree with what JR said, that your copywriting and your messaging cannot be replaced by AI, for sure.
Any other questions? Mike too.
Hi, my name's Yasmin and I own an agency as well. So I'm curious, with the development of AI and everyone moving into that section, and they've talked a lot about in marketing how we can develop our automations and so forth, but then there's also this other side where people are always talking about with content, we have to make sure we're always telling a story and we're being authentic. So given that one is a robot and one is a person, how are we going to be moving in a direction where AI can still tell a story if we're to move into automation with content creation?
It's a loaded question, but I love it. But think about 20 years ago, right? Who would have thought that we would have been reading stories on little computers in our pockets and connecting authentically with a brand via something that at that point didn't even exist? That we would be inherently just storytelling through 140 characters on an app that's, an app. Let's leave that one there for now. But how has storytelling changed over the past handful of years? And there's no real telling where it's going to be going. But we know that technology and AI and all of these, technological supports that we have as marketers aren't going anywhere. And that they're probably going to become part of the regular rhetoric of what it means to be a digital marketer.
I don't have a lot of experience with AI, but I would always say double check, making sure that it's your voice and your content and what you're doing. But whenever I produce content, I always check 3 main things, and it's really basic. You have your hook, you got your story, and you got your call to action. So what is the hook to get them in? So that can capture their attention, to get them to stop scrolling or to be able to open that email rather than letting it go to junk or delete. What's the story behind it that's going to help you be the meat and potatoes to get them to want to take action, and what is the call to action at the end with the response that you want them to do, whether it's going to be comment below on a social posting, reply to an email, or click a specific link. You just always have your hook, your story, and your call to action.
So one copywriting tip that I could share is always write for your audience. And one thing that I found is super helpful for my clients is I always encourage them to write to their audience like writing to a friend. So that way you can sound even more authentic and you can really connect with this one individual.
Hello, I want to follow up on this question about your personal content, your personal brand. So question one is like, who repurposes the content for you? And question number two, if you didn't have a team or some leverage to do that, what would be the one piece of content that you would do for yourself that would help you achieve your business goals? Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to start the second question first. So the one piece of content that I would always repurpose is my weekly live. It can either be my podcast. So like I have a national show that I'm on, 450 channels worldwide, and then I have my Daily Creed podcast show, which is on all the big channels as well. So I could take my podcast that I did for that week, and I can repurpose that to multiple different pieces of content, or my weekly live that I do inside of my community, I take that and repurpose it to my audience as well. Yeah, so in the beginning, I did everything myself. So I took that and I pieced it off. If I had a team, which for me, when I started my podcast 3 years ago, I stopped it for a period of time because I hated doing it. I hated the process of doing it. It cost me a lot of time. But I figured I was sat down and I was making down the pros and cons. Why am I not enjoying this? Because my coach told me I had to produce content. I had to have a podcast. I had to have a show, and I was doing it. But I realized the one thing that I hated doing was taking the time to edit every single piece of content, because I was spending 30 minutes or an hour every single week editing and chopping it up and doing all this stuff. And I was like, I hate doing that. It's not fun. And I was like, okay, let me find someone that can actually do it. So there's a website, if you guys never heard of it, onlinejobs.ph. That's onlinejobs.ph. There are a bunch of people from the Philippines. You can hire someone at $3 to $5 an hour. They do amazing work for doing those different things. I'm like, okay, I'd rather pay someone else to do what I don't love doing and be able to focus on the things that I love doing, which is interviews and producing content. So when it comes to a team, I started looking. That's the first place that I was told to go to, and I have people from that site that's been working with me for 3 years, and they're absolutely phenomenal. They do my video editors. I have a funnel builders, website builders, video editors, and a graphics designer, and they all came from there. Well, my video guy now is in Pakistan, and he is a rock star. So, but those are typically the places that I go to do it, and I do have my personal assistant that lives here in the U.S. But for some of those other jobs, there's so many talented people around the world, and they need our business and our money as well, and I always give really good bonuses. So if you're looking for a team and you're a one-man show, my first hire was a website designer, a graphics designer, and a funnel builder, and they both came from the onlinejobs.ph. So that's where I would hire to start to do that, and I would produce the content. I give it to them. They're uploading it everywhere. They're chopping it up, and then I give them access. Well, I use LastPass, so I don't ever give my personal passwords or anything like that to anything. So that I use LastPass so they can get access to all my social sites and be able to do the postings for me. I just give them a schedule that every single day, every single week at this day and this time, I want certain content to be posted, and then they do it from there.
Definitely. And if you're not in a position yet where you're ready to hire somebody to do it for you, I'll tell you, when I started out, I would always work long to short when it came to content. Start with that long form, meaningful piece, really hit every nail on the head as much as you can, and then chop it up from there. The one issue that I ran into was brand consistency on different platforms, right? So I'd chop things up, take that one piece, have a bunch of buckets, felt great, and then I'd look across the platforms and say, oof, like, wow, I missed the mark here, there, and the next thing, because, I was so focused on what does Facebook need, or what does TikTok need, or this, that. Make sure that for each platform, you have a 1 or 2 sentence statement just for yourself, when reminding yourself about what you're going to focus on specifically for that platform when you do take that top content and chop it down. So create actionable lists for yourself, just so that you know every time you go through a long form piece of content, okay, here's the 1 or 2 things that I'm going to focus on chopping this content up. that will resonate with my Facebook audience or my LinkedIn audience or whatever the audience may be.
I like to piggyback on this because she said something that was really, really important that I'll probably simplify for you guys. So taking the long piece of content, where I like to start for the long piece of content is I create the content for a resource. So it could be like a lead magnet, a PDF guide, or a video, but typically it's a PDF guide. The reason why is because remember what the end goal is to grow my email list, to grow my contact list, to grow my network. So I got to have something of high value to give people to be able to get to encourage them to give me their contact information. So I start out by writing out my content for my new resource, and then from there I chop that up to social content, video scripts for video content, and email content. And now I have 4 or 5 pieces of information that I can repurpose in many different ways by just creating that resource. Because inside the resource, I always have that hook, which is going to be the title of the whatever I'm teaching and training. Then I have the story, which is the processes inside the lead magnet. And then I have my call to action, which is going to be make sure to subscribe here, click here, invite here, register here, whatever it may be. I have my graphics designer that I hired from onlinejobs.ph. He designs it, makes it pretty. I have my funnel builder that builds it into a lead magnet funnel. That way it goes into the CRM. And then I have someone else that repurposes that content, and I deliver it. And so I write the long form content, which is the resource, and then my team goes and repurposes it to multiple different things.
And to answer your question, I would think about what do you enjoy the most in terms of marketing? Do you enjoy more about speaking or writing? So maybe you really like writing emails, or maybe you really enjoy doing a Q&A session. So I would just start from there to create that one piece of content. And then I usually work with freelancers from sites such like Fiverr, Fiverr, and Upwork. They have amazing VAs, social media assistants, and other many amazing talented freelancers that you could work with.
Usually if you go to your local university and like a marketing department, whatever it may be, they need free intern hours to be able to finish a degree, and you can use them and to be able to help you. So if you're not in a place to hire someone, you have people that need to have experience to work with you, and then if they do a great job and they help you get an ROI and you're in a place where you can hire them, then you can just hire them on afterwards. And from my experience, I had some people that I did that in the past with my clients that they needed more than 200 plus hours. Well, that can be 3, 6 plus months for them to get enough hours so they can finish their certification or whatever degree they're getting.
Okay, so we have time for one last question. Okay, so I think we must be so good that there's no questions left.
Yeah. If I can leave you guys with something, I mean, I would love to connect with all of you guys. I just launched my first book, which I've been selling. I think I sold more than 150 copies in the past week of it, and I was up in Times Square a couple weeks ago as well. It's called The Success Guide to Building Your Coaching Empire. I walked through 4 non-negotiable tasks that you guys need to do every single day to be able to build your business, and this would apply to all of you guys. You just go to my website, which is JRSpeer, SPEAR.com. You'll see all that information on there. Love to connect with you guys. Love for you guys to get the book. It's definitely going to inspire you, give you tons of value, and help you guys start, grow, and scale your guys' businesses. But go to JRSpear.com. Love to connect with you guys, and pull me aside, and I'll be happy to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for all the amazing and insightful questions. Let's give a round of applause for our amazing audience today.
Yeah, thank you.
And also another round of applause for our amazing speaker, R Speer and Carrie Price.
Yeah.
And give it up for Julie.
And Julie, give her a hand.
Thank
She
you.
did awesome. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.